Thank you so much for joining us today on Connect and Collaborate, where we come together each day to introduce you to our network of business and community leaders and to discuss issues that impact business. This week, our focus is on Denver's build-up. We'll take a close look at developments and construction projects and some great partnerships that contribute to our growing metro area. And today, we're connecting with the Colorado Innovation Corridor. I've got the Connect and Collaborate and the Corridor all in my brain, so thanks for sorting that out for me.
Absolutely.
I'm talking with Eric Drummond today. He's the president of Global Strategy for Formativ, and that's kind of the company behind putting all this together, along
Absolutely.
with the World Trade Center Denver being built in the Rhino
Yes.
River North.
Yes, at 38th and Blake.
Yeah. And tell us about Colorado Innovation Corridor, how that's going to come together.
Absolutely, Tammy. So the Colorado Innovation Corridor is a concept that I started thinking about some years ago. Just as a little bit of background, I'm a lawyer by trade. Mm-hmm. And I've been practicing for close to 30 years. And over the last part of my career, I was a partner at a couple of different global law firms. Mm-hmm. And one of the law firms is one of the largest in the world, now with 46 offices in 22 countries. And so I had the opportunity at that firm and at others to work on really complex energy development projects and technology projects that span from Silicon Valley to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And while I was doing much of that legal work, I was residing here in Colorado and primarily working out of our Denver office. And that's when I really came to understand that Colorado has the greatest number of federally funded labs outside of the Beltway in Northern Virginia.
Wow.
And these are unbelievable institutions of expertise, and they have facilities that are second to none. And so now for close to a decade, maybe a little more, I've been a stakeholder at the National Renewable Energy Lab, which is our nation's premier federally funded lab in advanced energy and energy efficiency. And by advanced energy, that kind of cuts across all the different verticals: wind, solar, biofuels, electric drivetrain vehicles, lithium-ion batteries, and advances in all forms of energy. And then more recently, in the last half dozen years or so, I was appointed to the Foundation Board of Directors for the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research, which manages the National Center for Atmospheric Research on behalf of the National Science Foundation. And that's our nation's premier federally funded lab in weather forecasting, earth sciences, and climate analysis. And the Foundation Board of Directors is the entity that assists in controlling the and commercializing the technology that's generated by the 1,400 research scientists and staff associated with the National Center for Atmospheric Research.
So in bringing NREL, and then did you mention UCAR
Yes.
yet? That you're bringing them together. They'll be located at the new World Trade Center Denver site.
Right.
Coming in what, probably 2019?
Yeah, late 2019. We probably will break ground in somewhere around in March of next year, and then go full force into build out. So the idea, the premise underlying the Innovation Corridor was to create a partnership between the National Renewable Energy Lab and the National Center for Atmospheric Research and our consulting firm that would be a first of its kind, unique, best in breed partnership that would basically, Tammy, create a two-sided market. It would help assist the labs with their current mission to commercialize technology that's being generated outside the lab and get inside the lab and get that out into the commercial marketplace. But I also thought it would be really useful if we also created streamlined mechanisms that would allow third parties, innovators, entrepreneurs, large co's, sovereign governments, to be able to access the technology, technologists, and facilities inside these labs that are second to none anywhere in the U.S. or in the world. And the combination of those two initiatives underlays the formation of the Colorado Innovation Corridor.
Wow. such a great concept to bring all of this together, and then you're looking further ahead that having those laboratories
Yes.
together
Yes.
is going to attract and create this climate, so that the kind of an accelerator, right?
Yes. Yeah. So once we finalized the agreements back in April and had those two agreements executed by the labs and reviewed by all the principals within the federal government that needed to review a partnership of this nature that was, first, it was kind and very unique. At that point, we then had the platform that we could use to support virtually any kind of innovation and to, from its inception, work on some of the most difficult and complex energy-related and climate and weather problems that face humankind. And part of what allows us to do that, Tammy, is that something that a lot of people don't know, and that I certainly didn't know before I started working so closely with these labs, is that each of these labs has one of the fastest high-performance supercomputers in the world. And so these are machines that are operating at what scientists call petaflop speeds, which is a quadrillion floating point calculations a second. So this is computing power that mankind has never had before. And when these machines were commissioned, each of them were, I believe, probably one of the 20th fastest high-performance supercomputers in the world.
Wow.
So the kind of modeling, the kind of dynamic analysis, the kind of real-time ability to be able to collect data and to assess that data and then to create products and solutions is something that the United States and the world has never ever had at its disposal before.
Right.
And that is a part of what underlies the platform.
So you want to, locate those in one place, so it can be a center of that innovation, that they can work together
Correct.
with a lot of other companies,
Absolutely.
a lot of other entrepreneurs, and really make who knows what kind of developments, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll be back with more with Eric Drummond, as we're going to come back talking about Colorado Innovation Corridor. Stay with us here on Connect and Collaborate. Thank you so much for staying with us today for Connect and Collaborate. This week, we are focusing on Denver's build-up, all of the projects, whether it's construction or developments or partnerships that help make Denver growing into a global city. And today my guest is Eric Drummond. He's president of Global Strategy at Formativ, and he is working on Colorado Innovation Corridor. And we're so glad to have this conversation. So thank you, Eric, so much for being here. So part of the coup seems too strong a word, but a great
Collaborative effort.
Exactly, that effort to bring things together is getting NREL and UCAR a presence there where the new World Trade Center Denver will be. It had to take some great connections and relationships to say, hey, great idea. Would you laboratories like to move?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, Tammy, I think that's a great question. So what we're going to do is we're creating an ability for these two premier federally funded research labs to have a presence at the World Trade Center Denver, where we complete development at the end of 2019. And the thought behind it was there would be kind of a two-phased approach. We would create the partnership, which took some time in terms of the design, the relationship between our consulting firm and each one of the labs, and then how the labs would be joined together. And once we got that formulation together and the right kind of business model behind it, then it had to be approved by various general counsels and others here in Colorado and in the federal government. And having done that, that actually created the heart of the platform. That is the Innovation Corridor. The accelerant was giving those two federally funded labs a presence, either virtual or physical presence, inside the World Trade Center Denver, so that people that don't normally touch the labs, because it's difficult in order to get inside the lab fence.
Oh, I'm sure you need clearance.
You need clearances
probably
and credentials.
Days or months of notice.
Absolutely. And there's only certain people that can get in.
Sure.
So we thought it would be that much better for all the parties, for the labs to be able to have a really aggressive, well-designed, public-facing relationship that they don't currently have, and then to allow that to be seen by third parties, entrepreneurs, innovators, CEOs, C-suite people of various companies, as well as sovereigns from leadership from countries all over the world that'll be coming through the World Trade Center Denver to understand what these labs do, what their capabilities are, and most importantly, the business and commercialization opportunities that will be generated and that are generated on a daily basis by the research scientists and their staff that are employed at both of these labs.
It's such a great concept, because then I realized, so these labs aren't actually moving, but they'll have offices there and have that presence, and
absolutely,
and be on hand to meet some
absolutely.
of the people, coming into the
Right.
World Trade Center Denver. It's going to be
Right.
a fantastic partnership.
Right. So, Tammy, it might be something like a large visualization, high definition screens located in our lobbies and potentially in other public parts of the World Trade Center. So that if you're at one of our premier restaurants, or you're at a bar, or you're in a meeting room, you can look up and access and see what these labs are doing in a way that's currently very difficult.
Right.
And there may be something that you'll see, a colloquium, a talk, a presentation, maybe even some sort of visualization of their current portfolio of innovation or things they're working on. And then that will give these third parties an opportunity to be able to say, hey, I'd like to learn more about that. I might even want to invest in that. Is there a mechanism? One of the things that we're doing with the collaboration with the Innovation Corridors, we've created streamlined means for outside parties to be able to access the technologies, products, and services that are unique anywhere in the world by these labs, and then to invest in them, support them, or be able to use the research facilities, which are second to none.
Fantastic. I'm visualizing this, and you have a kind of a diagram here that you sent me that shows all of the connections where World Trade Center Denver is going to be at River North. Just down
Absolutely.
the light rail line from DIA, so
It'll be
very
at 38th
accessible.
38th and Blake, and we sit directly off the 30th and Blake platform.
And so this diagram kind of shows the intersections coming. So you've got CU and Fort Collins coming straight down. You've got NREL and NCAR coming from
The West.
Anschutz, DU, Colorado Springs, School of Mines, all connecting.
Right.
That's such a great visual because it makes it a real hub.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
And
So
that's the whole point.
that is the whole point. We see ourselves as helping to create an open source hub where we will support a lot of the other research and innovation capabilities throughout the state. And in instances in which we can facilitate their business plan, their relationships, we can do it. And they can use our resources in a way that advances their initiatives. And what really underlay this, Tammy, was looking at the resources and assets we have in our own backyard here in Colorado, and then coming to some conclusions around what we thought could break down the silos and move the ball forward and do a kind of ecosystem gap analysis, and that's what we did.
Well, and you mentioned earlier that, here in Colorado we have the greatest number of federally funded labs outside of the Beltway.
That's correct.
You're looking DC, Virginia, that
Absolutely.
area. And to be able to get access to that will then have more opportunity for innovation.
Absolutely.
We have that opportunity for innovation innovation already,
Right.
but to be able to accelerate that.
Yes. Yeah, and the platform itself was designed from the ground up to support the facilitation of getting technology, products, and services out of the labs and into the commercial marketplace. And that is by supporting those technologies and technologists with advanced technology to market strategies, scaling strategies, capital formation, and getting those products to be commercialized, but also creating pathways, streamlined, well thought out pathways for entrepreneurs, innovators, and companies and sovereign governments outside the lab to be able to access those technologies and products and researchers inside the lab.
So it's an opportunity then to break down some of those silos and
Absolutely.
make the connections, right?
Absolutely.
And the access to innovation is creative. So you're creating these business relationships that, over the long term, what can you expect to happen?
Sure. Well, we're already in the process right now, so because once we inked and we're able to finalize and ink the agreements back in April of this year, our platform went live. And so we're already seeing some technologies and products and services being looked at inside the lab and connecting those with the right kind of capital and support systems to be able to commercialize the technology. We also have some outside companies, like, for instance, we have one of the nation's foremost lithium-ion battery companies. Preto Battery is going to utilize our platform to accelerate their commercialization process. We have a tremendous company that does online digital evaluations, about the best in the world. And they're a company called Valid Evaluation, and they're set up to help decision makers make complex decisions on an evidence-based basis. And we have a group called the Water Foundry, and these are key knowledge experts that look at water scarcity and water challenge issues on a global basis, and they're all connected to the Innovation Corridor platform.
So many great, as we keep saying, partnerships, but these people working together. And yesterday we talked with National Western Center about the changes they're making there and how they'll put together like an agriculture center to figure some of those same addressing water issues, addressing agriculture. So this entire area.
Oh, it will be second to none, we think.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to do tremendous things at the Northwestern Center, and they may even want access to some of the platform because, for instance, the National Center for Atmospheric Research, which is the premier federally funded lab in weather forecasting, earth sciences, and climate analysis, really has already mapped many of the waterways, most of the waterways in the United States.
Right.
No one in the world probably understands more what's occurring in the lower biosphere in terms of atmospheric conditions, rain, water, weather conditions, all of which are critical if you're going to be moving ahead in smart ag. So we see us as a connector between lots of different initiatives and being able to support that and shine the light on others, or actually become the research center for some of these initiatives.
Incredible, I think, relationships are going to be coming together to really solve major problems and do some great things.
Absolutely.
I'm talking today with Eric Drummond. He is the president of Global Strategy for Formativ, and he is working on the Colorado Innovation Corridor. This is going to be in association with World Trade Center Denver campus.
Correct.
That we're looking forward to groundbreaking.
Absolutely.
Early next year, right? On that.
Late in 2019. Excuse me, groundbreaking. Yes, groundbreaking in spring of
next year
of 2018. Yes.
And then late in 2019 to be completed.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk more about World Trade Center Denver tomorrow as we're talking with Sean Campbell.
Absolutely.
So a lot to talk about there. But man, when we can see all of this coming together and so many great facilities, it's just a great plan. They'll have great hotels there, all of these
hotels, restaurants,
partnership relationships,
meeting space, connectivity on a dense, robust level with participants across the world.
And just making it easy for everybody to accomplish something great.
Absolutely. Everybody work together.
We're going to be back with more with Eric Drummond. Again, he's president of Global Strategy for Formativ, working on Colorado's Innovation Corridor. Stick with us to hear more about what's coming up there. Thanks so much for staying with us. We are glad to have you along on Connect and Collaborate today. And this week, we're focusing on Denver's buildup. We're looking at all of these projects, whether they're developments or construction or partnerships that are putting Denver really on a global stage. to really make some progress. Eric Drummond is here. We're so glad to have you on the show, Eric.
Thank you very much.
Eric is the president of Global Strategy for Formativ, and he's working on Colorado's Innovation Corridor. And Eric, why don't you give us a little summary for those that might just be tuning in? What is Colorado Innovations Corridor? What's the expectation there?
Sure. So the Colorado Innovation Corridor is a platform that connects two of our nation's premier federally funded labs. One is the National Renewable Energy Lab, which is our nation's premier national lab in advanced energy and energy efficiency, and then also connecting the National Center for Atmospheric Research, which is our nation's premier federally funded lab in weather forecasting, earth sciences, and climate analysis, with our private business, which is Formativ Consulting.
So bringing those partnerships together, giving NREL and UCAR a presence there at World Trade Center Denver, giving people access to them, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, so Tammy, so it's, I kind of think about it as a two-step process. And the first step was creating the partnership, which took a little bit of time and effort. That created the platform. And once we inked the agreements that created the partnership in April of this year, the collaboration went live. And what I mean by that is we now had a platform where technologies, products, and services that we call them inside the fence, which are at the labs, could now have a more streamlined ability to get into the commercial marketplace, where we could develop technology to market strategies for them, help them access capital, and commercialize their products and services. But it also meant a more streamlined and well thought out process for allowing third parties outside the fence, entrepreneurs, innovators, companies, and countries, to be able to access the technology, products, and services inside the lab that are difficult to access, and to be able to avail themselves of both the human capital, that's thousands of research scientists and staff that are the top in the world, as well as the actual physical facilities, two of the fastest high-performance supercomputers, modeling abilities, labs that are able to test energy projects at scale,
incredible.
All in one kind of seamless one-stop shop.
So what do we imagine for the kinds of other businesses, industry, entrepreneurs that will be either also setting up business at the World Trade Center Denver here in that innovation corridor?
Absolutely. So this is a platform to help facilitate and accelerate the creation of businesses. And it's starting out with these two premier federally funded labs,
right,
and connecting them with other research centers, like Anschutz.
Yes.
Like, for instance, technology incubators up in Fort Collins, cybersecurity down in Colorado Springs, and with Denver International Airport, one of the largest and unique airports in the country.
Oh, and then you have Panasonic out
Absolutely.
there.
Panasonic Enterprises Solutions that's headquartered out there. So what we're doing is we're connecting pieces where we can help facilitate business transactions, connect these novel products and services to the global community, and then help others to be able to understand what goes on the other side of these labs that is unique to anywhere in the world.
It's an incredible opportunity, I think. And then what I think is brilliant about this entire concept is it's going to attract them so much.
Absolutely.
So you're going to get more businesses,
right,
more industry.
Right. So if you're a business, small or large, one of the things that you're very concerned about is getting your product into the marketplace.
Right.
So, there are different methodologies and business cases for how you determine demand in the market. But once you've determined demand in the market, then speed to market is critical. Not only is speed to market critical, but having a product that is tested, that can be commercialized and dependable, all needs to occur at the same time. And we see the Innovation Corridor as a platform to accelerate that whole process. And if you're a business, or if you're an entrepreneur or an innovator, then there's probably nothing more important to that, along with being able to access capital in order to support your business model.
So we've talked about this. So you kind of have the phase one of it is getting those partnerships together.
Right.
That there's this platform
Absolutely.
that's going to be up and running.
Right.
Phase two has been connecting to that World Trade
Sure.
Center as the location.
Absolutely.
And then what happens from there?
Okay, so let's talk about that. So once we inked the agreements between the labs and Formativ Consulting, that phase one was completed. It is now operational.
Nice.
And we've been operational now since April. So we're supporting innovation. We're supporting various clients, and we're looking at solutions around some of the world's most difficult problems in advanced energy, energy efficiency, climate, and weather forecasting. So we're doing that right now. The next step is allowing these labs to have a robust, well thought out presence at the World Trade Center campus when that project's completed, to give them probably the best, most transparent relationship with the public and with individuals and companies that will see the labs and the products and services for the first time when they come through the World Trade Center Denver. So, it'll be a 300,000 square foot campus. It will be one of the most advanced designed licensed World Trade Centers across the world.
Really?
It will be absolutely unique. It will have in its DNA supporting entrepreneurship and innovation, but it will reflect the kinds of things that we do in Colorado that are the best in the world. And we see it as a piece of the puzzle to help Colorado and to help Denver move from that tier of cities that we normally compete with, like Austin, San Francisco, Boston, and others, and maybe leapfrog some of the first tier U.S. cities and move into play and competing with some of the top cities in the world. And it just becomes a piece of the puzzle to assist all the players and all the stakeholders that are working so hard in Colorado to make that happen.
What happens then when Colorado and Denver in particular becomes this just this global city, and it's the place to do business, the place to make these partnerships? Are we big enough?
Yeah.
I'm just like, is that more people moving in here?
So
Eric?
I think it means a lot of things. I think first and foremost, it means supporting job creation and business development for people in Colorado right now. So the 5.5 million people that are in Colorado right now, we intend to create an aggressive job creation environment here that allow them to have jobs of the future. It will also attract capital to support their kind of innovation. And we have to be frank, I'm sure it's going to draw other people to Colorado who will look at what we have here. But it's important for us to be able to all work together to be able to show our country and the world, this is how we do this. And we do it the Colorado way, and we do it in a way that creates the best environments for supporting job creation and business development.
And when you say that doing it the Colorado way, we hear this so much on this show where we talk with like Stephanie Beck from Workforce Development, where they are really working on getting that workforce together, getting the talent, and realizing that they're doing it in a way here in Colorado that other states aren't yet.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of the trend. Like Colorado's really becoming a leader, whether it's innovation or in the way you do business or create partnerships.
I think Colorado is one of the most collaborative ecosystems across any number of industry verticals of any place that I've ever lived or worked.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's a sense of a partnership that may have developed from the Old West.
I was going to say, it's that pioneer spirit.
Absolutely. I need my barn raised, and if you can help with that, then come on in and help me do that. And I think it resides deeply in the people that were here first and everyone coming in. We really want to work together, play together, live together, and support each other.
It's such a great attitude. If we get that spirit all through the nation, what could we do?
I wouldn't be against that.
Not at all. Thank you so much, Eric Drummond, President of Global Strategy for Formativ, working on Colorado's innovation corridor. I'm sorry, I keep getting all my C words screwed up there. We'll be back with more with Eric, talking about the Colorado Innovation Corridor when we come back. Stay with us. Today with Eric Drummond, President of Global Strategy for Formativ. And Eric, you're working on the Colorado Innovation Corridor. Fantastic project, getting everything pulled together. They're creating partnerships. How do you think the Colorado Innovation Corridor is going to create and support
job creation?
Yeah.
Tammy, so what we're already in the process of doing by bringing these two premier national labs together with our consulting firm is to bring together the business models, the strategic analysis, the market analysis that allows us to be able to help create jobs of the future and to do it in our own backyard. And we see this as kind of multifold. So not only do we have these tremendous labs, the combined annual appropriations for both those labs probably runs between $750 million to $1 billion a year. These are significant enterprises. They've now been joined together with a consulting firm. And so what we're doing is we're looking at all the various ways of supporting additional business development, but out of our own backyard here in a way that can only be done through these labs. And then along with that, one of the initiatives we're working on is to do support STEM fellowships. And what we're envisioning is that, for instance, the National Renewable Energy Lab or the National Center for Atmospheric Research might have PhD scientists that are coming out of MIT or Stanford, University of Texas, other top schools. And they might be bringing researchers with them, and they're looking for ways to be able to do continued research and job creation out of the background that they have, the subject matter expertise. And sometimes what happens is, I just kind of throw up a figure. Let's say it's each one of them might get paid $100,000 a year to bring to market really critical research and job creation, but they can only get funded for $60,000 if they were to come here to Colorado. We want to bring the other $40,000 a year to the table for each one, so that they don't have to worry about coming here. This is the place they want to be. We'll do the gap funding. We'll create the STEM programs, and we'll just continue to further these kinds of efforts.
How do you create that access to capital?
So, as I had said earlier, when we inked the agreements that created the Colorado Innovation Corridor back in April, that brought this platform live.
Right.
Very shortly after that, I started working with a group of principals at the labs and outside the labs that are kind of premier stakeholders in private foundations, private wealth, family offices, venture capital. And we're in the process of creating one or more brand new foundations. The foundations will be located here in Colorado. They'll be in our backyard here in Denver, and they will amass capital from both coasts and some from our region to deploy it in a way that we've never been able to do before. So this would be largely new capital to support these kinds of business relationships, entrepreneurship, and innovation that we've never had in Colorado before. And that will help drive and support the ability to commercialize technology that's inside the lab and get it into the commercial marketplace, but also to drive new innovation in entrepreneurship, and maybe even support efforts of those who are looking to help productize the technology that's inside these labs that's difficult to get out into the marketplace without the access to the right kind of capital at the right time, and to be able to create the right kind of technology to market strategies that you need in order to commercialize a product.
Then how does Colorado Innovations Corridor intend to support the community? There's a lot going on. It should be new jobs for one thing, right?
Right. So it'll be new jobs. It'll be business development. It will be what we all tend to call jobs of the future.
Okay.
But there also will be when part and parcel of the work we're doing in our development at 38th and Blake, which is the licensed World Trade Center Denver. And that project, our development there, is already attracting some of the most novel players in the healthcare space.
Right.
So it's bringing into that part of Rhino and Five Points purveyors of services that never were there before.
Medical services.
For instance. Cost-effective, highly efficient, and designed from the ground up to be able to support all people who need medical service. We'll also
Right, 'cause
have
that's been a neglected area, I would say.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then it'll also attract grocery stores. So a lot of these areas in an area in which we're building this development,
Known food desert, right?
known food desert. So we'll help build the ecosystem around with other stakeholders to have new grocery stores, new restaurants, and then some of the clients that will be tenants in the building, they will be there and they'll also be able to provide their services to the community. So we see this as a very holistic picture. It's the opportunity that we have as the developers and the president of our consulting firm and the Innovation Corridor to kind of have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to bring as many of the pieces to bear to support our community. I call it, where global meets local.
Right.
It's supporting local business development, regional, global, all from a platform, all in our backyard, breaking down the silos, making new relationships, and really building on that deep sense of collaboration that we have in Colorado that I think is unique to almost any other place I've ever been.
Right. And that collaboration, how does that work on, you just kind of mentioned it, how you work on some of those really difficult problems that we're facing,
Right.
like, addressing that food desert,
Sure.
addressing the medical need there
Right.
in some of those neighborhoods that have been
Right.
neglected.
Right. So at the at the most granular and local level, we'll be helping work with people to address job creation and business development right here.
Right.
Then along with that, because the platform includes 2 of these labs, with each one with 2 of the fastest high-performance supercomputers in the world and lab facilities, we are designed to look and provide solutions for the most complex problems facing mankind in the areas of energy and environment. And that kind of collaborative effort, we believe, exists nowhere else in the country, possibly nowhere else in the world.
Right.
It'll be here in our backyard.
And some of those other problems you mentioned earlier in the show, where some of our listeners maybe weren't tuned in yet, addressing the water issues,
Absolutely.
climate,
Yes, so we'll be looking at...
because you got NREL and
Absolutely.
UCAR there.
So we'll be looking at every form of energy generation, advanced energy generation. We'll be looking at every form of energy efficiency. We'll be looking at developing protocols and analyses around water scarcity issues, which is critical for Colorado.
Yes.
So water scarcity, water development, water reuse, but all best in class. We'll be supporting others in the region, like the Northwest Center being involved with smart ag, smart food production across the board. And the existing labs are just the beginning of the kind of collaborative efforts that we'll pull together with nationally funded labs and helping them interface with key stakeholders and addressing some of the most difficult problems facing mankind right now.
Well, and I love that idea of getting all of these minds together and in one place and in connection with the World Trade Center, so they can then,
Absolutely.
once the product is developed or the concepts
Absolutely.
are developed,
Right.
spread them all over the world, right?
Right. So we'll be developing a unique, one-of-a-kind World Trade Center. There's 300 licensed World Trade Centers across the world. It's the largest business network that we have on the globe. We're connected to the other 299. We're connected to all the principal cities, and we see that as an ability to build support the kind of businesses, jobs, and innovation that we have here in Colorado, and bringing the best minds together, the best collaborative efforts, and doing the kinds of things that we do out of Colorado that are unique to almost any place I've ever lived or worked.
Wonderful. You're creating partnerships in association with Colorado Innovation Corridor. If anybody else wants to get involved, what do they have to do?
So we see ourselves as an open platform, being able to support it. You'll hear some of these ideas from different segments of this program. We have our website up. You can go to formativconsulting.com and hit projects, and you'll see some information on the Colorado Innovation Corridor. You can go to the National Renewable Energy Lab, to their website, or the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research and the National Center for Atmospheric Research, their sites, and that will also give you additional information on what we're able to do with the Colorado Innovation Corridor.
Thank you so much, Eric Drummond, for joining us today and giving us this great perspective of the Colorado Innovation Corridor and what we can expect in the not-so-distant future.
Absolutely. We should be expecting it right now and on into the future, Tammy.
Right, because like you said, the partnerships are already in place.
It's already in place. It's live, and we have already gone to work.
You're just ready for the location. So
Absolutely.
Feel the buzz.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Eric Drummond. We really appreciate you coming in.
Great to talk to you.